The Galactic Military Academy's observation deck fell silent as the holographic display materialized above the central platform. Instructor Vaxthor, a towering Krellian with 4 arms and scales that shimmered like polished obsidian, gestured toward the rotating image with one of his primary appendages. "This," he announced in his characteristic gravelly tone, "is a void wraith." The assembled cadets from 17 different species leaned forward, their various sensory organs focused on the nightmarish creature suspended in blue light. It was enormous, easily the size of a small cruiser with a body that seemed to absorb light itself. Tentacles writhed from its mass, each tipped with what appeared to be biological plasma cannons. Its surface rippled with an otherworldly energy that made even the hologram unsettling to observe. Cadet Marcus Chen sat in the back row, his standard-issue datapad balanced on his knee. Unlike his fellow cadets, who wore expressions ranging from fear to fascination, the human's face remained neutral, his dark eyes calculating. "The Void Wraith," Vaxthor continued, "is the apex predator of deep space. It feeds on energy, any energy, ship cores, weapons fire, even the biological electricity of living beings." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the room. In the 300 cycles since first contact with these creatures, no weapon has successfully stopped one. Kinetic rounds are absorbed. Energy weapons only feed it. Nuclear devices merely anger it. A Diluvian cadet, her translucent skin pulsing with nervous bioluminescence, raised a tentacle. "Then how do ships survive encounters, Instructor?" "They don't," Vaxthor replied flatly. "Survival protocol dictates immediate retreat. You run or you die. There is no third option." His 4 eyes swept across the assembled students. "This is not cowardice. This is practical military doctrine based on 3 centuries of casualties." Marcus's hand rose. Vaxthor's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement. "Cadet Chen? With respect, Instructor, you said no weapon can stop it. Have we tried everything?" A ripple of uneasy chittering and clicking spread through the alien cadets. The Krellian's scales darkened, a sign of irritation among his species. The Conclave's finest scientific minds have analyzed these creatures for generations. "Cadet. Yes, we have tried everything." "Everything from advanced civilizations," Marcus pressed. "But what about primitive solutions?" Vaxthor's secondary arms crossed over his chest. "Elaborate, kinetic weapons were mentioned. But what specifications? Velocity, mass, composition? Standard railgun velocities, various projectile masses, all standard military alloys and ceramics. All absorbed on contact." The instructor's tone suggested the conversation was over. It wasn't. "What about slower projectiles? Chemical propellants? Specifically designed penetrators?" The observation deck erupted in a cacophony of alien laughter, or the equivalent thereof. A Zephian cadet's wings buzzed mockingly. "The humans suggest we defeat an energy-eating monster with primitive combustion weapons. Perhaps we should throw rocks next." Marcus didn't smile. "Instructor, Earth military history includes a concept called overpenetration. Some targets are defeated not by energy, but by physical disruption of critical systems. If the Wraith absorbs energy, we don't feed it energy. We punch holes through it." Vaxthor regarded the human for a long moment. Among his people, stubborn determination was respected even when misguided. "Your hypothesis is noted, Cadet Chen. However, I would not bet my ship or crew on 3,000-year-old technology. Respectfully, sir, humans bet their entire species on it for most of our history." The simulation alarm cut through the tension, a shrill sound that sent cadets scrambling to their stations. This was it, the practical examination they'd been dreading. The Academy's training ship would face a simulated void wraith. Standard protocol: detect, classify, retreat. Simple. Marcus moved quickly, but not toward the navigation or communications stations most cadets fought over. He headed to the armory deck, his boots clanging on the metal stairs. "Chen, where are you going?" Vaxthor's voice crackled over the comms. "Your station is communications." "Requesting permission to access legacy weapon storage, sir." "Permission denied." "Return to your..." But Marcus was already through the armory door. The galactic military, in its thoroughness, maintained examples of every weapon system ever used by member species, for historical reference, for museum displays, for humans who refused to accept that the old ways were useless. His fingers flew across the storage system console. There, Section 47 Terran. He punched in his access codes, praying his earlier research into the Academy's security protocols would pay off. The locker opened. Inside, preserved in climate-controlled perfection, was a collection of human weapons spanning millennia. He ignored the swords, the longbows, the flintlocks. His hand closed around something more recent, more practical. A .50 caliber rifle, the kind snipers had used back in the 21st century. Next to it, a box of armor-piercing incendiary rounds. The ship shuddered. The Wraith simulation had begun. Marcus ran. The observation deck had transformed into chaos. The simulated Wraith filled the view screen, its tentacles reaching toward the training vessel. Cadets shouted in a dozen languages, their retreat protocols executed with textbook precision. "Chen," Vaxthor roared as Marcus burst onto the bridge. "What is that primitive device?" "A theory, sir." Marcus was already moving toward the emergency airlock, the rifle slung over his shoulder. "The simulation includes exterior hull access, correct? For repair drills, not suicide missions? Then mark it as a repair drill." Marcus cycled the airlock, the magnetic locks in his boots activating as atmosphere vented. "Tell me when I have a clear shot at its core mass." "You cannot be serious. Instructor, you said yourself we run or we die. I'm offering a third option." The hull of the training ship stretched before him, a metal plane dotted with sensor arrays and weapon emplacements, all useless against the approaching Wraith. Through his helmet's visor, Marcus could see the creature clearly now, its massive form blotting out the stars. "Chan, get back inside." Even through the comms static, Vaxthor's concern was evident. The simulation's behavioral matrix is set to military-grade realism. If it tags you as a target, then I better not miss. Marcus braced himself against a sensor housing, the rifle's stock pressed firmly to his shoulder. The weapon felt ancient compared to the plasma rifles and energy weapons in the ship's standard armory. Simple, mechanical, chemical, not energy. "Core structure detected," the ship's AI announced. "Center mass 47 degrees port, 2 kilometers in closing." Marcus's breathing steadied. This was the part where training met instinct, where thousands of years of human evolution as persistence hunters focused into a single moment. He'd grown up in Montana, learned to shoot before he learned to drive. His instructors at Earth's pre-academy training had called him a natural. He hoped they were right. 1,500 meters, the AI intoned. Marcus adjusted his aim, calculating for 0 atmosphere, 1/6 standard gravity from the ship's rotation, and the relative velocity of the target. 1,000 meters. His finger found the trigger. The Wraith's tentacles reached forward, energy crackling along their length. Beautiful, terrifying, unstoppable. 500 meters. Warning, target preparing to... Marcus fired. The rifle kicked. A sensation no energy weapon could replicate. The bullet left the barrel at 2,800 feet per second. A simple chunk of tungsten carbide wrapped in incendiary compound, propelled by nothing more sophisticated than controlled chemical explosion. The Void Wraith had evolved to absorb, to consume, to feed on energy. Energy weapons, energy shields, energy-based life forms, all were prey. But evolution hadn't prepared it for a lump of metal traveling at hypersonic velocity, carrying no energy signature to detect or absorb. Just mass, velocity, and physics. The round struck dead center. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the incendiary compound ignited deep within the creature's core, not feeding it energy but introducing a chemical reaction its biology couldn't process. The Wraith convulsed, its tentacles spasming wildly. 1, 2, 3 more rounds followed, each punching through the same wound channel, each detonating deeper. The creature's absorption field flickered, failed. Its mass began to collapse, imploding as the carefully balanced biological processes that maintained its structure cascaded into failure. The simulation ended. Silence filled the observation deck. Marcus cycled back through the airlock, his hand still steady despite the adrenaline. Every cadet stared at him, or rather at the primitive weapon in his hands. Instructor Vaxthor approached, his forearms hanging at his sides. When he spoke, his voice carried a quality Marcus had never heard before. Respect. Cadet Chen. That was either the most brilliant tactical improvisation I've witnessed in 40 cycles of teaching, or the most foolish disregard for doctrine in Academy history. Marcus met his instructor's four-eyed gaze. Sir, human military doctrine has one rule that supersedes all others: survive and adapt. We spent 3 million years as prey before we became predators. We learned to solve problems that should have killed us. Sometimes the old ways work because the universe forgets to defend against them. You realize, Vaxthor said slowly, that if this works in reality, you've just rewritten 3 centuries of military policy. Sir, humans rewrote our own policies constantly. We called it progress, a clicking,